Yes, this is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub, of course, exclusive on the Listener app. And the boys are back for another week. Geez, it was a big round one, but we're already dissecting round two and having a chat as we welcome to my left, as always, the great Collingwood and Carlton superstar, Daisy Thomas. Hello.
Oh, Joey, great to be back with you all. And I'm excited, not so much about what's happening on the field, but more just the presentation of one of our fellow members today.
We'll get to that. It's certainly not Damien Barrett, this man who's worked for business for the phones. How are you, Damo?
G'day, Joey. I've got a similar start to today. I was down in the bottom of the car park, and I was the last of the four of us to arrive today, which is unusual. I was still on time. But when the lift doors opened downstairs in B2, I was confronted with a beautiful masculine smell of aftershave that came out of the lift, and I knew Duck was here. I just knew Duck was here. Then I got into the lift, nearly passed out on the 3 floors up to this level, and now I'm sitting next to the man you're about to introduce, and he's got some business he's got to attend to today.
We do indeed. We're going to introduce Duck because you are up and about and you are dressed immaculately. Damo's already mentioned you smell beautiful.
I smell the same as you now, Duck, for being in that lift.
It's a little overpowering now. By 8 or 9 tonight, it'll be perfect. All right. So,
and why does it need to be perfect by 8 or 9?
It's always my theory. Just put a little bit too much on at the start, and it ends up being perfect.
And why were you so keen for us to get this podcast underway a bit earlier than usual? Well, why are you dressed up?
I'm off to Steak and Kidney. I'm off to Sydney to watch Barry Hall and Sonny Bill tonight. I got to know Baz during the SAS stuff, and ripping guy. Very similar upbringings, Baz and I, and great father. And it's going to be a very interesting. I love the fact that you've got two guns at their particular sport, and they're going to go head to head tonight. And I can't wait. It's on Stand, by the way, which is very different. So it's different to how you'd normally consume something like this. So get your 30-day free. Membership at Stan and then sign up for the fight.
Clearly.
I'm actually not. I'm not. But you know what? I want Baz to do well out of it. I want Sonny Bill to do well out of it.
Who do you think wins and why?
Well,
quickly.
Look, fighting went out with Abbott, by the way, but in the ring it's okay. It's not how you throw a punch, it's how you take one. And I'm not sure. I haven't seen enough of Baz in the ring to see whether he can, and I haven't seen enough of Sonny Bill to know whether he can. So that's who generally wins big fights, the person that can take one, not throw one.
I feel the real winner out of this is going to be you, Duck.
Well, and more importantly, what's the plan leading up to the fight? And then what are you going to do? What about post-fight? You going to any after parties or anything like that?
Well, I happen to be invited to both after parties. And, obviously, I'll be going to the winners.
So, do they both know that this is the arrangement?
No.
No. Okay. Are you prepared to say which?
If I'm going to say to Sonny Bill or Baz, look, I'm only coming to yours if you win. The blokes are about to go into a big fight. I'm not going to say that to them.
Are you prepared to say which seats you are accepting to sit in for the fight?
I'm in Baz's corner. What I didn't know is that... so
you want Baz to win?
Green is in Baz's corner and Mundine is in Sonny Bill's corner. Okay. So that's interesting. So that'll create a little bit of,
rivalry.
Yeah.
We look forward to that. We'll see if your head bobs up when they do that. I'm sure they'll do a celebrity fan thing and
I'll be like Jack Nicholson. Sitting up there with the shades on.
They might say for the national audience.
What do they call it? Sunset Strip or something? All the celebrities, you'll all be sitting up next to each other in the front row, second row.
They might say for the national audience, Joey, that this is the guy who lasted 2 days in the TV show that was most recently.
He's taken offence to that.
Come on.
You know him.
We'll keep rolling because, as always, off the top of the show, Daisy, you like to bring us the hero of the round.
Daisy's hero of the round.
Yes, we love the heroes and we love pumping people up. And it was a great round and some really fantastic stories across the weekend. Obviously, some young kids plucked from obscurity, playing some really good footy. The young Bombers boy who kicked 5 goals on debut. But Thursday night footy, big crowd at the MCG. And I didn't have to wait long to cement who was going to be the hero of the week. And this is how it was called.
This will lift this big Carlton crowd. Docherty, as Robbo said, what a wonderful story. Back playing footy. A big fight on his hands he's had, and he's kicked a goal at the MCG. And look at his mates run at him in numbers. Every Carlton player will get to him.
Absolutely fantastic. Was loving being there. Goosebumps all across the body. It was a fantastic. the show of support from the crowd, standing ovation.
Yeah.
But this is a bloke who's not only beaten cancer twice. When he first got to the Blues, we were on a training camp in Arizona. He got a phone call at dinner that his father had passed away from a heart attack. So he has just been dealt some pretty crappy cards. He fronts up week in, week out, a ripping bloke, and just goes to show that, it's a great football moment, but there are often things that just are a lot bigger than football, and this was one of them. So to Sam Docherty, well done to you.
Yep, that's a beauty.
Thank you, Doc.
That'll be hard to beat.
Yeah, it will be hard to beat. I was there too. Goosebumps, absolutely the right word. But you've also come with us this week and you've brought a little villain of the round as well.
Well, I did catch a fair bit of footy and footy shows over the weekend, just doing my due diligence, casting a broad net across all the shows. And, well, this sort of caught my eye from the Sunday footy show, Damo.
You finished 17th last year. You've beaten St Kilda, who no one expects will do anything this year. Stop carrying on. That's Jack Ginnivan. You've played 6 games. Just relax. Earn some respect in the game before you go on carrying on like that.
So that was Kane Corns referring to Jack Ginnivan and his use of the GoPro that the club had given him. So he didn't bring his own GoPro to the game and decide that he was going to go around filming. He was instructed by his club. Now, I get that Kane finished in 2015, and that's a fair while ago, and his views may be slightly archaic now and a little bit in the cave because TikTok came out in 2016, so that's, the new age player. So I don't have an issue with people referring back to, it's not what we'd do back in my day, but I think you then have to preface it with a but because you were commentating on the modern day player, not what you did back in your day. It's all about what they do now.
I don't mind. You know what? I sort of tend to agree with Kane.
Do you?
I think the club should put it in a more experienced person's hands. A club that's not his fault. It's not the kid's fault. So I disagree with Kane on that. It's the club's fault for putting it in his hands. They should allow him to just concentrate on the footy and get that part of his...
I'll tell you overreacting, Doc. I mean, it's just
Well,
a kid caught up in the
I'm not-
infectious
Damo,
nature
Damo,
of a win
I'm not
of game of
overreacting.
footy.
I'm not having a go at him. You didn't hear what I said, so I'm not overreacting.
I did hear what you said.
So I'm saying that the club...
But what's wrong with it?
Well, I just think that they probably should put it in a more experienced person's
While
hands.
Kane's having a go at him, because if Kane had had a go at the club and said they should have given it to a more experienced player, I probably would have found it hard to disagree with. But if he's going to have a crack
I'm
at
saying
the kid,
it's the club's fault, not the kid's fault.
which is why we're agreeing
It's
with
a
you.
modern age. It's all about connecting with fans. It's a different time. I'm still the old school. I remember we had articles in the newspaper and old Grant Thomas and Ross Lyon used to say, "Oh, geez, you've got your head in the paper. You'd want to get like that's all old school stuff." It's all about connecting with fans through social media. It is a new age. We need to get our heads around it. That's the way you connect.
I get what you're saying there, Joey, and you're right in what you're saying. It is different, but it certainly still does add pressure. If you are a young kid that's only played 6 games, so let's go back to your day and bring it to this day, you still shouldn't be doing double spread, features in the Herald Sun or the Age or whatever. You shouldn't be doing any of that because you're just putting added pressure on yourself. So I once again disagree with what you just said.
Nick Dacos, though, the number 1 draft pick, has a documentary coming out of his process to get to that pick. Something along those lines. They followed him around with cameras. So it's just the
I would
day and age.
I would argue Nick Dacos is backing his ability up, and he may well do that. So he might be one that can, and there might be others that can back that up and continue to perform under that. But do you really want to be adding more pressure to your starting your career, and hopefully a long one at that?
I think it's got nothing to do with how he's going to play, Duck. He'll either get the footy next week and he plays, or if he doesn't play, he's got to work harder to get it. Doing the interview after the game.
Hang on. So you don't think? Why do you think players are stepping away from the game because of mental health issues?
Yeah, because blokes like
I
tell you why. No, I tell you why. Because they do. No, because they do outside things.
Because you're telling them they shouldn't.
Things. No, I didn't.
You're the one saying you're saying the club shouldn't have given it to him.
Listen to me. If there are players that can handle it, then by all means. But does it put added pressure on you? If you're saying to me it doesn't, then I 100%
I'm not saying that,
disagree.
Ducky. Listen to what I'm saying.
Okay, it puts added pressure. If you want to go and do double parade spreads and you want to do, you want to hold the GoPro or whatever you call it, you want to do all of that, it will put added pressure on you. That's all I'm saying.
And I don't think Kane knows Jack well enough to know which case that falls into, so leave the young kid alone.
So that's
Strong start to the midweek rub, and I reckon it's going to get even stronger because, Damo, we've got your footy news next, and the Tribunal is certainly on the agenda today as we speak with the...
I'm just getting warmed up.
I know, I'm getting warmed up. I think this is going to go places.
And the aftershave's coming off and it's starting to get hot.
Stick with us, plenty more to come. Triple M Footy's midweek rub. Now it's time for Damo. Your news. Where do you want to start? The Blues.
Yeah, we need to start there because the great win last week, we knew the day after that win that Michael Voss was not going to be in the coach's box. Ashley Hansen will coach the team against the Bulldogs on Thursday night. We knew that Jack Martin was also caught under the COVID protocols. And we learn only, as we're talking today, only in the last hour, that Adam Cerra will also be missing for the same reasons. There's a couple of other off-field key assistants, Duck, who are unavailable as well. Out of all of that, there is some good news. Sam Walsh will be returning from the serious injury, or the seemingly serious injury he suffered in the off-season. But already we've got a COVID-compromised scenario for a team desperate to push itself up the ladder this year in round 2.
Do you think that'll be a regular occurrence? Do you think we'll see, for most parts of the season, some team have 2, 3, some sort of disruptions with COVID?
Until the governments, and ultimately there's 10 teams who are abiding by state government of Victoria regulations, until the government say you don't, in a workplace, in that situation, need to continually and regularly, and on most clubs' cases, daily, do the rat test, we're going to see it, yeah.
Is this still a little bit of wait and see? They don't play until tomorrow night. Obviously, Cerra testing late in the week. He would have been at training with a lot of the boys for when you're in the infectious period.
A little 3 or 4 day lag.
It's a worry, Days, because they felt they dodged the worst of it when it got through to Tuesday.
When
we were
okay.
Was
and then in the circle.
And that's the thing, isn't it? If you go back through all the footage. But that's what happens. The protocols get dropped ever so slightly on match day. The adrenaline flows before the game, the match is played, and then the subsequent either celebrations or commiserations, they're not just adhering to the same level of detail they do during the week when they do socially distance.
It's a hard one to gauge because, like you said, that yes, they have been in close contact at some point in the last week. But I've got mates and partners that one has had it and slept with the other one for 4 nights, 5 nights, and not got it. So you know.
Just quickly, how's Michael Voss going to coach? Is he going to be having full access in the coach's box from home? Is he going to leave it to Ash Hansen? Do you know what's that's going to look like?
I get the feeling, Joey, and this will probably still even change between now and game time. They're going to let Ashley Hansen control it, and I think that's the only way to do it.
Too.
Yeah,
he's very impressive, Ash Hansen. I don't know whether you've had much to do with him, Joey, and Days. Well, I know you would have, but speaking to him, lovely articulate, guy. Speaks well. Been in the system. They were spewing that they lost him, the Bulldogs. Yep. Like he is a coach in waiting.
He's got access, Joey, just back to your specific question, Michael Voss, to whatever he wants. And that can come, he can have a line into the coach's box, he can have a line to the players. But the added layer of requirement around that is something that footy clubs don't necessarily like on game day. So I think you'll get his messages through without being them necessarily directly delivered on every occasion.
And he'll just be watching from home, so he's not going to be at the ground to be able to see everything. So unless there's something specific that he wants to send to a player, he'll ring a coach or speak to a coach, say, hey, can you go and tell player X this and this? But otherwise, I think
it's good, though. The provision is there. If he wants to speak to a player or the coaches, he can do so whenever he wants, as far as I can tell. Just
quickly, Jack Darling, the latest on him. Are we expecting him to play this weekend?
Yeah, they're getting desperate, the Eagles, and rightly so, given their madness off-season, some self-inflicted, some not, just injuries everywhere and problems. There's every chance he's going to play in round 2, Duck.
Well, why wouldn't he? He looked in pretty good nick from what I saw.
He hadn't trained with the group from mid to late January till now. I
don't overrate.
Left them in the lurch. We're told, Daisy, that you've got to do a pre-season.
No,
he has done a pre-season.
Damo, but they do have the Kangaroos too, so it's not. And with all due respect,
he was training. He was doing a lot of power of work
back about a
outside
week,
the club.
He got back about 2 days before round 1.
You're allowed to. You can go and train somewhere else and then come back to the club and be super fit.
Yeah,
you don't think if he
does a soft tissue and adds to their injury list,
that's my point.
Because they've rushed him back, it will be a huge error.
Okay, the ball work, which he's played at the club for the last 10 years, but the ball work and all that sort of stuff, yes, and the kicking, I assume he was kicking, wherever he was training as well. But those elements, yes. But in terms of fitness, the guy is very fit.
A strong club, without having the problems this one's got, the Eagles, I think would have been able to, ideal world, Joe, and you tell me if I'm wrong in saying this, send a stronger message just to keep him out 1 or 2 more weeks. Because he left him in the lurch.
He left him in the lurch.
He had made a decision.
Absolutely desperate.
How did he leave him in the lurch?
If I was Adam Simpson, I'd be playing him too.
If they still want to play finals, so they have to beat
How did he leave him in the lurch?
Until 3 days before the season started.
He made an opinion. He made a conscious decision that he didn't want to
I'm not judging his
have
decision,
a vaccination. Well, you are.
He left him in the lurch. They didn't know he was going to play.
No, he didn't.
They're footballers, Duck. They wanted to run out with their best team.
Well, eventually he's
clearly... Why did he change his mind then? Why did he change his mind?
Well, guess what? Go and ask him. You're the journo.
Well, hey, this is getting spicy, but let's really heat it up, Damo, because I want to get your take on the fallout from the Tribunal.
Undercard?
This is good.
Started Saturday, actually. It started Saturday in the Saturday Rub.
The fallout from the Tribunal. Willie Rioli getting off his suspension. Mitch Robinson's standing.
Yeah.
What's the fallout and what's your take?
Again, it's hard for us to talk about it right now because we don't know what the appeals mechanisms will look like. The AFL's got the right to appeal the Rioli one.
Appeal it?
Why wouldn't they?
Well, because it was the right decision to get off.
I disagree with that. Joey, what do you think on that one?
I thought it was a line ball. I actually thought it was real 50-50. I didn't mind either way. So I'm actually all for them going, both of them taking it to the Tribunal because I don't think these incidents are black and white.
Yeah.
I think they are grey. I think they are very complicated. I think when you've been out in the footy field, split-second decisions to what you are meant to do, I think it was the right decision from both to go to the Tribunal, and in the end, the Tribunal made their verdicts. Yeah. I was okay with it. I think it's grey.
I break it down to a footballing incident, and if Willie Rioli didn't go for that ball after not being in the side or the AFL for 2 years, at a critical moment, and he didn't contest it, he let Matt Rao come back, take an uncontested mark with the flight. Whilst trying to earn respect back from his footy club, he'd be rinsed.
And you think the same.
And then you watch other football shows, you see Lob from Fremantle not absolutely mixed the young kid from
Dawson.
Adelaide.
That was Dawson, yep.
Coming back with the flight, did his due diligence, duty of care when he could have absolutely put him in the next week, and he gets rinsed for not going hard enough.
Spot on. So once again, you look at the outcome, not the action. The action in a footy action, which that was, you're flying at the footy. That's you're not trying to hit someone high. You're allowed to protect yourself while you're going for the footy. There's a couple of other incidents. The swinging arm into Radicalia's stomach. Hang on. Now the action, guess what? That should 100% got a week. The others are footy actions. Mitch Robinson, which you're about to go into, that is an absolute. If Mitch Robinson puts his head down to pick that footy up, guess what happens? Head hits head. Mitch Robinson goes to the footy, turns at the last minute and stops to protect himself. You're allowed to protect yourself. By turning side on,
he protected Dersma too, Duck. He actually stopped.
I know that. So the fact that Mitch Robinson, I thought they both, Rioli and Robinson, should have got off. And who was it? Draper that did the swinging arm. He deserved a week.
Yeah.
That's how stuffed this system is again already. We're in round one. And we are going to be second-guessing ourselves all year.
I reckon it was last year we said the exact same thing in round one, and you looked me in the eye and said, Daisy, we'll be talking about the same thing next year, the year after, and the year after that.
Because I think it's great. That's why I think about it. The umpire thought it was that Willie Rioli was contesting a mark.
Yep.
We've got the Tribunal that thought he was contesting. We've got half people thinking he was contesting, and then we've got some others that are adamant it was the worst decision in the history of the game. So if we've got to understand it's grey. It's not black or white, and we need to have a mechanism for them to be able to explain their situation, what the alternatives were, I think these situations need to go to the Tribunal because I don't think they're black and white. But what's your take?
I just think that the body running the game is the one that I think should determine what it looks like. And ultimately we're getting a bunch of legal people arguing beautifully legal cases. I mean, we even had the Nick Riewoldt mark in 2005 used as a defence mechanism for Rioli flying for the ball. That we'll never see a mark like Riewoldt's again. I didn't see any relevance at all to that, but it got into someone's mind, I think, because he got off as part of the argument. And then I also look at what Duck said, and I agree totally. With Robinson, I reckon there was a moment Robinson thought, if I keep going, I'm going to really hurt him here, and he stopped, and then he still get penalised for
hurting
that
himself.
action. Or himself, yeah.
The AFL are asking players to take care, and in Mitch's point there, I've known Mitch, I've played with Mitch, his instinct would have gone to try and go straight through. So he tried to do, in that split second, he actually thought, tried to stop, tried to limit the impact and the consequences of going for that ball, and he still gets hit with a suspension. He'd be so flat.
So football action, break it down. Football, if it's in a football action, so going at the footy, and whether it's aggressively or not, football action, and then bring back to this. You are allowed to protect yourself.
And that's the key with I agree. It's human instinct to, at the last second, flinch to protect yourself. So I don't know how you can take that out of a physical game in a contest sport and say, so Willie Rioli's option was, okay, last second he realises, I'm going to get there late. I'm going to lead open-chested with my head, and Matt Rowell and I are going to smash heads. I think it's a very fine line to expect the player to go, okay, well, I'm now open, but I have to stay open because otherwise I'm going to miss 2, 3, 4 weeks of football. Yeah. It's just such a difficult one. I completely, though, agree we have to do more for concussions. I've seen teammates now and past players that are really, really struggling. So I don't want to see concussions, but it's such a fine line. It's such a grey area that I think we're going to continue to be talking about this, not just this season, but going forward as well.
Yep.
Hey, just the last one. You want to touch on St Kilda?
I'm just worried about him, Joey. I mean, even before the weekend just gone, when they were okay for periods and patches against Collingwood, but there's a sameness to the midfield, which we've known about, and even the inclusions that could come in coming weeks in Geary coming back and maybe Billings and even Hanbury. I don't think
Paddy
it's...
Ryder.
And Paddy Ryder's their most important player, I think. But the fact he's 35 or whatever it is and he's still that status is, I think, as big a worry as it is that Jack Hayes is not even in the team and almost their best player on that ground in his first game.
So what's the worry, though? What's the worry?
The
That they're
worry
not
is
going to
that
play
there's
finals?
the worry is that they're not going to change their plight from last year, the way I see it. And I'm not reacting straight on round one. It's just it's the same as 2021, and I don't see any individual being able to change the course of that season.
You would have been watching that game, Joey. Do you get concerned by, I guess, the lack of game plan that isn't tangible? I don't think you see it coming through. You watch the Pies and they clearly went in with a plan, didn't execute it exactly right 100% of the time, but you could see there was a clear plan and direction. I question whether or not that's being executed well enough by the Saints players.
It's a fair point. It's hard to sum up exactly how St Kilda play. I don't think we can we know that when they're up and about, their pressure's elite, they turn the ball over, they can move it well, but I think it's a bit like their list and a bit like their coach. It's good, but it's not good enough to really challenge a top team. So where does it leave you if you're just good and you're in that bracket? That's sort of the question. I think they need everything to go their way if it's to fall in their place. And as we know with footy, it doesn't happen that way.
You can't have a game plan that's called energy, because you're right. When their energy is up, when they're up and about, they look like a good team. But when that energy is just slightly down, you're right. You don't look at them and say they're trying to play this certain style. They're trying to do this, they're trying to do that. It's not that at all.
On the Midweek Rub,
Absolutely outstanding by me.
I'm good from the waist down.
it's Duck and Daisy's Quick Five.
Gee, very good. Duck and Daisy, there it is.
What about the way he's pitched himself into another stinger?
I know. Don't you
That's
love it?
because you don't have one for your news.
Just get a Daisy Duck.
Daisy Duck.
Yeah.
Why do you want his name
Duck.
first?
Disney character.
Because you've never heard of
play on
Daisy
Daisy
words.
Duck. Righto, let's whip through these. Let's touch on a few other clubs and get both of your first takes, and we'll have a little go. First of all, are you buying the hype around Collingwood? Can they play finals this season?
Nope.
Enjoying the hype. No, they won't play finals.
Do you have concerns about the Tigers playing finals this year?
Yes, and I did so before the weekend. So I don't think they're back as well as what people were suggesting.
You were a bit more bullish on Richmond?
No, I think they'll get through their gears as the season goes on. I always expected Carlton to win on the weekend. I thought they'd start off slowly. They've had interrupted pre-season to some of their stars like Lynch, who's a touch underdone. They'll get better as the weeks go on, and I think they'll be primed for the end of the season.
Do you give Essendon a mulligan for their poor performance in round one, or again, do you have some concerns about the Bombers this year?
I have some concerns. They did the same thing last year, and the same concerns, believe it or not, about the chasing and the lack of effort of some of their senior players too, which is hard to take. But once again, I'll say this: it was the exact same last year. They got themselves out of it. They do have the talent, I think. But I'm not convinced they will play finals.
I'll give them a mulligan, but I won't be judging their effort this week. It'll be week 3 and 4. You always spike after a game like that. There's always, you go to training, you get flogged, and it's not good enough. You always spike the week later. It's what you do the fortnight and weeks preceding that.
Are you buying the hype about Carlton? I reckon I know your view on this one,
Yes,
Duck, but
yes.
you're buying the hype?
I've bought it for 3 years.
So eventually you're going to be right.
Exactly.
You're pretty confident from what you've seen that they should play finals?
Yeah, and I know they've got a few COVID issues this weekend, but they get a quality guy back. And like I said, Vossi will be on the screen there, and you'll have Hansen, who I'm a big fan of, Ash, and I'm buying it.
Big time. I thought they were fantastic Thursday night. Richmond really challenged them, kicked away a couple of times, and they went back to winning the ball in the contest, which just stands up.
So why is it going to be different this year, though? Because we've seen them play like that in previous years, but only for a game or two. Why is it different this year?
I just think the way they're playing is sustainable. It's all about winning it at the contest and taking it from there. With the types of bodies they've got in there, they'll win enough, they'll break even at worst and then go forward. The back line's the only suspect thing for mine, but it wasn't exposed on the weekend against a pretty good forward line.
Called belief. And I reckon they got a stack of it. I know it's only one round, but I reckon they got a stack of it on the weekend.
And lastly, the Western Bulldogs. I reckon I know your take on this, Daisy, because you went with it last week. Duck, you concerned about the Bulldogs at all?
No.
You still think they can win the flag?
Yep.
I'm concerned about their forward line. I'm not sure.
I didn't
the
say
answer.
they would win the flag.
No, but you still think they can win the flag?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been concerned all pre-season. I'm still concerned. It was the same thing again. They got beaten by what they knew against Melbourne on the weekend, which is disappointing, but they don't have any other options at the minute.
And does Josh Bruce's return change your view on that at all? Because it's going to be late, if at all.
Well, yeah, if they're still in contention, it may. But again, if you come back from 12 months out of the game and you're this solution, you've probably still got more.
I love
questions than
Brucey, but
answers.
he's not Nick Rewald or Jonathan Brown.
Tell you what, though, the stats are starting to back up that when he doesn't play,
Yeah.
their forward line falls away completely, which is interesting because you're right, but maybe he's a bigger loss than we
Okay,
actually thought
maybe
at the
he's
time.
Steve
Yeah, there is.
Maybe he's Wayne Carey.
Maybe he's Chris Grant.
He's not quite Chris Grant, but sometimes there are some important players that play important roles. This has been a bit of a heated edition of Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub, of course, exclusive to the listener app. And before we take a look at round 2 action, we're going to have a look back at our tips last week. We all tipped Melbourne to beat the Western Bulldogs, so we're on to that. We all tipped St Kilda, unfortunately, to beat Collingwood. We all got that one wrong. We all tipped the Swans and Gold Coast Suns, so pretty good round from us. The two differences, the Richmond-Carlton game, Damo, we had faith in the Tigers. They let us down. Duck, we know you've been big on the Blues, but how about we listen to what the Oracle also thought?
Daisy Thomas is the Oracle.
I also, Blues for me.
Oh, there you go.
That's all you needed. Just a winner.
You're a genius, aren't you?
Look, very rarely do I say anything that can be misconstrued or get it wrong.
Do we have to run a stinger in every segment now?
Apparently so.
About
It's
you.
part of my contract.
So what did you just say? You think you nailed nearly everything?
I nailed nearly everything.
Well, let's take a listen to your thoughts on the Essendon Geelong game. Still think Geelong have a chance, Daisy, this season?
No, I don't. I'm just looking at my notes here, and I don't have them in my 8
You've
either.
left them out of your
I've
8,
left
the
them
Cats.
out of-
Hang on, you left the Bulldogs and the Cats
Yeah.
out. I like it.
Yeah, so no, I think this is going to be a cracker, and I think Essendon should be pretty bullish of their opportunity. I think for the first time, the Geelong midfield will be stretched.
Oracle.
The Oracle, eh?
The Oracle.
Look, I can take some responsibility for that, but is there any chance in round 1, if you're wearing a red and black jumper, you could fire a shot?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
something, one of the 7 names that I then went to mention as to why they could take it up to Geelong.
You're meant to already know that.
Yeah, well, I'm...
Sometimes the Oracle doesn't work. Hey, well, let's get straight in because I think that's a huge game. Saturday afternoon at Marvel Stadium, Essendon v the Brisbane Lions. You think there's a bounce-back factor, but can the Bombers beat Brisbane or are they going to start zipping 2 once again?
Zipping 2.
Brisbane too good?
You're off them now.
I'll be lucky to tip them again after what they dished up and made me look silly.
I agree with that outcome in that game because Brisbane did what it had to do against Port Adelaide last week. They're going to make the grand final, according to me, Joey, and I think you're in the same view of that, so they'll get over the Bombers.
Pretty ordinary for me, Brisbane, but they'll win.
Yeah, I think Brisbane should win as well. Very bullish on Brisbane. What about Sydney-Geelong Friday night? That's a beauty. Sydney played awesome. Geelong were even better. Who are we tipping in that one?
I'm going to tip Sydney. I think the home ground factor, although Geelong have got a pretty good record up there, but also buddy factor. 4 goals left to get to 1,000. I think he'll put on an absolute show and they'll be good enough.
Same for me. The build-up to this game is immense. It's going to be close to a full house, which will be magnificent to see that SCG in that state again, and it will be the buddy show kicking the 4 goals required.
I know you love your stats. Cats haven't always been all that strong at centre clearances. It's a massive part of our game. SCG, they were unbelievable on the weekend. Cats will beat Sydney.
I think the Cats as well will flex their muscles and beat the Swans. Just a couple other quick ones to have a look at. Richmond v GWS. I think that's another beauty on Sunday afternoon. We'll be calling that one for the Sunday Rub. Tigers GWS. How do you see this one panning out?
I just think the Tigers for me. I think GWS without Toby Green, although the other T Green was fantastic. Toby Green's the X factor in so many ways, not only kicking goals, but adding and bringing others into the game. I think the Tigs.
It's why I tipped Sydney last week because Green wasn't in. So Tigers for me.
It's going to cost them. Joe, there's an interest to me in the Gold Coast Melbourne game. I know it's not the one jumping off the page, but Gold Coast, after what they did against West Coast, they need to have a good start to the year, and I'm just keen to see what they do. But we'll get a real check on where they're at. They're confident. They're happy with how the season started. Futures are on the line the entire year. I'm not saying they should win. In fact, they won't win, but I just want to see how they go against this severely depleted Melbourne team. 5 players now out of that back line last year in the grand
4
final.
goals is about the line in that match.
Is it?
So they're given a chance by the bookies. I know
So
that doesn't mean
that's
anything,
a
but
short line.
That is
Yeah.
a short line
Don't
for
worry.
what you would consider.
Don't worry about their back line because they can let 12 through, but they'll kick 24. Melbourne will win.
Melbourne to win. Yeah, they should. And just quickly, North Melbourne. Can they beat the West Coast Eagles in Melbourne on Sunday?
Oh, if they play like they did for about a quarter and a half, yes. But that,
If they play like the other 2.5 quarters?
Yeah, then no. I wouldn't be tipping them. This could change, by the way, when I put my age tips in. But I would be going West Coast.
Okay, righto. We won't hold that to you just in case you decide to change it. It's not
He will get the game right somehow.
Because I'll sit there, I'll study it on my way.
On the plane.
I'll be studying it.
on the way home?
With my driver on the way to the airport.
Very, very good. Hey, this has been a great edition of Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. And don't forget, you can listen to every game across round 2 live on Triple M and the Listener app, starting with Thursday night's clash between the Dogs and the Blues, which will be a beauty, by the way. Does anyone think Carlton will win against the
yes.
Bulldogs? You're going Blues again?
Yeah, they can.
I'm
but
going
once
Blues
again, my driver and I will be going.
Hey, that's on from 7 o'clock tomorrow or Thursday night. Brian Taylor, Luke Darcy, Kate McCarthy, the great Oracle, Daisy Thomas, Sarah Ollie, and Ash Stewart. This has been Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Hope you enjoyed the show.